What do you think is the biggest problem with the Browns?
Coaching. And that's not to say that I don't think Freddie Kitchens is going to be a success. I think that he has a chance to be a success. I certainly don't dislike anything, I don't dislike the prospects of Freddie Kitchens, but I think it's important to point out he's a first-year head coach, and he looks like one. Some play calling issues, clearly a problem. Penalties on a part of the team, clearly a problem. Knowing that you have a franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who's out there running for his life. He's scampering from the pocket a little bit quicker than he did last year. 10, 15, 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, running for his life, not getting protected, and obviously forcing him to look like damn near a rookie, or at the very least a second-year quarterback instead of the stud so many people have proclaimed him to be. And I think a lot of that points to Freddie Kitchens going from that quarterback's guy to that offensive coordinator to that head coach all in 1 year. We're seeing penalties. We're seeing a lack of discipline. We're seeing illegal formations take place. I think 3 consecutively went on at one point. Obviously they should have ran the ball when they were passing it on a few occasions. These are things that you point to the coach. And a coach's job is to put you in the best situation to win. And there have been several occasions in the first 3 weeks of this NFL season where Freddie Kitchens has not done that. That does not mean that he won't correct it. It doesn't mean that he won't get better. But clearly, I think when you look at a lot of NFL coaches, the experience factor is more flagrant in Cleveland than it is in most cities. You have a first-year head coach, and he looks like one.
Well, look. It's legitimate to criticize Kitchens, the guy who took over the offense last year and it was really good, and Baker Mayfield was throwing open receivers, and that's really how I judge offensive coordinators. He's not one anymore. Are the receivers open or not? Are there open receivers all over the field, or are there not? Last year there were. So there kind of are this year, too, which leads me to the next point. Kitchens is legit, Stephen A., as a guy to get criticism. Look, if you call a draw play on 4th and 9, you're going for it from where they did. If it works, you're a genius. It's probably not going to work, which is why people are going to call you an idiot, right, afterward. But it's not even the play calling. It's the play calling plus the discipline, plus the lack of identity, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not even what I'm going to focus on. And I could even say the offensive line play, which has been a little bit maligned out of proportion early on. But when you're not that great and then you face Aaron Donald, look, it's not going to be that great. And I'm not even going to blame the offensive line, actually. It's Baker Mayfield. I love Baker Mayfield, but he is regressing. And you could say it's because of everything I just mentioned. Well, if he's shell-shocked, he's going to regret. He's not seeing open receivers. He's bailing, which is I'm a little bit surprised by. Given his personality, he's bailing on plays and kind of like improvising before he needs to. He's not processing the information quickly enough, or is a little bit jittery, too scared in the moment to calm down and actually see it. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be a great quarterback. I'm not saying a pretty good quarterback, an average high. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, and I saw signs of it last year, no doubt. And I'm even willing to say I think he's going to be fantastic by the end of this year, and the Browns are going to be okay. But if you want to say what's wrong with the Browns right now, their quarterback is regressing. He had a chance to win that game at the end, or at least tie it, and he blew it because he's regressing.
You guys make extremely good points, and this team has had a ton of issues. You can point to Freddie Kitchens when you look at the whole of the season. The penalties early on against the Tennessee Titans, the fourth quarter by Baker Mayfield, Greg Robinson being kicked out of the game against the Titans, having his replacement get hurt, Hubbard being beat on that right side, and then you go to the New York Jets, and we watch Baker Mayfield as the New York Jets move post-snap, not be able to process things. A lot of this leads to Todd Monken, though, who is now the new offensive coordinator, who took the place of Freddie Kitchens. And you speak about coaching, and even in Baker Mayfield's regression, that's on Todd Monken throughout the offseason when you are trying to figure out Steve Wilkes' defense throughout the offseason, and you're in OTAs and then in training camp, and you aren't coaching Baker Mayfield or giving him the opportunity to figure out things post-snap. Now these things show up in games. And then you point to the offensive line not finding ways to double Aaron Donald, making sure Dante Fowler is blocked on the outside when you're backed up in your red zone, finding ways to make sure Clay Matthews doesn't get that sack. And Freddie Kitchens Kitchens is the play caller. But if you go to the day-to-day of what happens on offensive teams and on teams in the NFL, it's based on what can Todd Monken, the offense coordinator, implement. We watch Jameis Winston regress when Todd Monken was his offensive coordinator. Oof. You look at Jameis Winston the last 2 games, and now he looks like a player. And it was the Carolina Panthers on Thursday night, the New York Giants, who aren't very good, but we're seeing Byron Leftwich, the offense coordinator in Tampa Bay, Bruce Arians get that team to play well, and Jameis Winston to look like the guy he was drafted to be. This regression with Baker Mayfield, Max, you're right. It is real. It's a huge part of why this team isn't winning. He is bailing, but he's bailing because he's not protected. He's bailing because guys aren't getting open. And so when you have all these things that are going down, it's about the day-to-day implementation of strategy and scheme.
Only reason I would challenge you on what you're saying, Ryan, is because I understand you got your offensive coordinator and you got to point the finger at him. But I'm sorry, Freddie Kitchens was just in that position last year. And you're a first-year head coach. And the reason why you got the job as the head coach is because of what you did. A, coaching Baker Mayfield, and B, coaching that offense just a few months ago. So I'm not letting him off the hook with that. That's number one. Number two, when I brought up the 3 illegal formations, I didn't mean it consecutively, but I'm saying on 3 occasions last year, right? So you had Odell Beckham Jr. guilty on one time, Farrell Brown guilty on another time. Then you've got a situation where you're talking about, pre-snap penalties and what have you on the offensive line. You were playing in Cleveland. You weren't on the road. This was not a noise issue or anything like that. You're talking about 6 pre-snap penalties that your offense has suffered on your home turf against the reigning NFC champions. So when we look at it from that perspective, it's hard for me to point the finger at Baker Mayfield when I'm seeing all the stuff that's going on around him, seemingly a bit discombobulated. Plus, you got Aaron Donald and the crew and Fowler and the crew chasing you as well. And then you got a rookie head coach who looks like a rookie. And that's really what this comes down to. I don't think that could be escaped.
Ryan's convinced me, Stephen A., and I'll tell you why. You're right, of course, Kitchens. Everything you said is right. The lack of discipline goes to the head coach. He's a rookie head coach. Like, all those things are true. And what I said is also right. Mayfield is regressing. But when you look at the offensive coordinator, I think that's a tough point to beat. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.